ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So thank you everybody. So today's discussion is lifestyle management from Bhagavad Gita. I'm just starting this recording of this file. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See, for our life, lifestyle is very important because the kind of lifestyle we lead determines the kind of comfort or happiness we experience, right? So previously the lifestyle was very simple, and lifestyle was very down to earth and very slow. So people lived a healthy and happier life, especially in the past. And now recently, because the lifestyle is very fast, it's like a rat race. Always there is something to do. People are very busy. So there are different kind of problems which the world is facing now. So Bhagavad Gita, being a manual for life, gives us information or knowledge about the spiritual world, spiritual aspect. At the same time, it also gives knowledge which will help us to live happily in this life. Both are there. How to attain the spiritual world, how to attain Krishna, as well as how to live happily in this world, within this body, right? Just like we know that we are the soul who is the driver of the body. Just like the driver drives the car, similarly the soul drives the body. So because the soul is in the body, we have to take care of the body also. So how to take care of the body? What are the different aspects which we need to take care? That is also given in Bhagavad Gita. So today I will just briefly touch upon the different aspects of lifestyle which Krishna speaks in Bhagavad Gita. So I have entitled this title as Lifestyle Management from the Bhagavad Gita. Are you able to see the slide? So this is the dashboard. Like every vehicle has got a dashboard. Car has got a dashboard in front where you can see the fuel indicator, you can see the speed indicator and all those things. Here is aeroplane dashboard. There are many parameters because aeroplane is a very complex vehicle. So here, just by looking at the dashboard, you will be able to understand the situation of the machine. You will be able to understand the status of the machine by seeing the dashboard. Similarly, in our life also, we should have a dashboard by looking at which we will be able to assess our own life situations, our own health status, right? So in this aeroplane, there will be, height indicators, speed indicators, turbulence indicators, oxygen level indicators, right? That indicates the health of the aeroplane. Similarly, in our life also, there is a dashboard which looks like this. These are the four aspects of our life: spiritual, physical, mental or intellectual, and social or emotional. So these are the four aspects of our life. And by balancing these four aspects of life, we will be able to keep a healthy and balanced and happy lifestyle. Okay, so that's the meaning. So the physical aspect is the diet, sleep, and exercise. Those are the physical aspects of life: diet, sleep, and exercise. We'll discuss about each one of them eventually during the further slides. So Mental and intellectual involves reading, writing, planning, visualizing. Right, especially if you are a student, your college life, or if you are a professional, then it is your work life. So that's what basically comes in this quadrant. And the third one is social and emotional, which is to deal with our emotions, our personal life, uh, basically intrinsic feeling of security, our relationship with kith and kin and friends. Empathy means how do we feel about others. Empathy means exactly able to find out the feelings of others. That's empathy, and behaving in a way which is beneficial for others. That's called empathy. And seva or service to others. These four aspects. And spiritual aspect. The sadhana, swadhyaya, contemplation or meditation, and value clarification and commitment. Sadhana means what we do, like chanting Hare Krishna, that is sadhana. And swadhyaya means reading spiritual books, that is swadhyaya. And contemplation means after doing sadhana and swadhyaya, what's happening in the mind? Are we able to churn those topics which we have studied and heard? So that's called as contemplation or meditation. And value clarification and commitment. So what is this? This indicates whether what am I doing, is it right or is it wrong? That's called value clarification. Like sometimes like telling lies, what kind of value is it? Oh, that is a wrong value, so one should avoid it. So this kind of value clarification can be done at the spiritual level. So that's why these four aspects are the dashboard of our life. And in Bhagavad Gita, you'll find some aspects of all these four, which Krishna mentions in different shlokas in Bhagavad Gita. So the key to success is right time management for all these four aspects. So the right time management is Hare Krishna. Are you able to hear me? Is my voice audible?
Yes.
It's audible, right? Okay. Thank you. There was some interruption. So physical aspect makes us a good animal because the body is material. So we need to take care of this body. So we need about 1 hour for eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner 3 times in a day. Right? Even if you take 15 minutes for each, it comes to 45 minutes. You can consider approximately 1 hour. And sleep about 6 hours minimum. Right? Between 6 to 7 hours is average sleep which a person may require, especially youth. And exercise maybe about 20 minutes, and other activities connected to the body like taking baths, going to the washroom, or washing our clothes. So all that you can consider under 40 minutes. So in this way, about 8 to 9 hours should be spent for the body, right? So then the next aspect is mental and intellectual, which makes us a good craftsman, a good artist, right? It's about 8 to 10 hours. Generally, our office hours, your office hours, I don't have to go to office, but your office hours are maybe about 8 hours to 10 hours, right? Generally work hours. So which involves you have to read something, you have to write something, you have to plan for the project which you want to release, visualizing what is going to happen in the future, where do I want to see myself in the future, right? So that's visualizing. Skills development. Skills development means taking some training programs, that is skill development. Like in office or in college, sometimes they arrange some skill development programs like public speaking, art of communicating, art of correcting others. These are interpersonal skills. And there will be some like technology based skills development, like maybe like video editing or something like that, or Python, C, Java, So that kind of skills development. And occupational duty. Right? Occupational duty is nothing but whatever you have to do for your money, earning money. That's occupational duty. Right? So that is the second quadrant. Third quadrant is social and emotional, which makes you a good friend. So it's about 2 to 3 hours in a day. So having good friendship gives us internal security, intrinsic security, right? It makes us feel happy. Right? Generally, when we in our life, sometimes we go through rough phases. At that time, we need somebody with whom we can share our heart and seek guidance, isn't it? So we share our heart, and then the heart becomes light. And if the person gives some guidance and valuable suggestions, then we'll be able to overcome those challenges and go ahead, isn't it? We all always feel the need of some person, some guide with whom we can share. Empathy towards others, which I already discussed before, feeling others emotions and acting accordingly. If somebody comes in a very disturbed mood, exactly understanding what he's going through and responding in a way which is beneficial to him. And otherwise, somebody is already troubled, and instead of soothing him, we may agitate him, isn't it? So that's called as empathy. Empathy means to put ourselves in others' shoes. That's empathy. This will help us to build good friendships. Third is service contribution, like कुछ सेवा करना चाहिए. Maybe some, even it may be 15-20 minutes, whatever it may be, helping others, helping your mother, helping your wife, children, uh, in different aspects of life, right? Like cooking or cleaning or washing. That's good seva. And sometimes devotees come to temple, and temple they do seva, like they clean the temple or they bring some like grocery or donations to the temple. Like during this lockdown, we saw that some people are coming with jackfruits and giving to the temple as a service. Somebody was bringing some fruits, somebody was bringing some vegetables and giving donation because they want to do some seva. That is service contribution. And synergy and cooperation. Generally, we should work in a team. Like a single stick can be easily broken, but a group of sticks cannot be easily broken. They remain strong, isn't it? So that synergy and cooperation with people will help us to perform much better without getting broken down. That's the third quadrant. And the fourth one is spiritual quadrant, which makes one a good saint. Right? We should give at least minimum 2 hours per day for this, which is sadhana and meditation, like chanting. Like many of you, some of you I saw today coming for chanting. I think I saw Sitaram, he was coming chanting in the morning on the Zoom. Many from the first batch are coming regularly for chanting in the morning, early morning. So that's nice. So second thing is Swadhyaya, study of spiritual books. Like in these sessions, I'm teaching you from the spiritual books, but you can also take Bhagavad Gita and read one page every day, or read some 2 shlokas every day. Like that, we can take some commitment and complete reading of Bhagavad Gita books. Contemplation is meditating on what we have learned. That's contemplation. Value clarification I already explained, and realization. So this time division is very important. Okay. So this is the dashboard of life. Is it clear till now? If it is clear, please type yes. So then I'll go ahead to the each aspects and quoting a shloka from Bhagavad Gita. Okay, thank you. So I'll just in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna quotes one shloka, which is like this. Kindly try to repeat after me. I will recite the first line, then you can respond the first line. Then I'll recite second line, you can respond the second line. Okay. Yuktahara viharasya.
युक्ताहार विहारस्य
युक्तचेष्टस्य कर्मसु
युक्तचेष्टस्य कर्मसु
युक्तस्वप्नावबोधस्य
युक्तस्वप्नावबोधस्य
योगो भवति दुःखः.
योगो भवति दुःखः.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji, for reciting. In fact, when I recite shlokas, others can also unmute and you can recite. It looks very nice. In fact, tomorrow I'll be taking a session on how to recite shlokas and how to memorize them. Right? So we should understand the meaning of the shloka as well as we should try to know it and try to memorize as many as possible. So then we'll become like lawyers, right? Lawyer knows everything about the constitution. He'll keep quoting from this section. It says like this. Similarly, we should also be able to know from Bhagavad Gita which shloka tells what. So can somebody read this translation? You can unmute and read this translation. Yes, anybody? Yes, Prashant, can you read this? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system.
Yeah. So Bhagavad Gita as it is 6.17. So chapter 6, shloka number 17. So here Krishna is telling that you should be regulated. Regulation is the key. Yukta ahara. Yukta means regulated. Ahara means eating. Yukta vihara. Vihara means recreation. Like sports or doing some yoga, some swimming. That's vihara. Yukta cheshtasya karmasu. So regulated in work. And yukta swapnava bodhasya. And regulation in sleep. So if somebody is regulated in these four activities, ahara, vihara, karma, and swapna, then he can mitigate all his sufferings. Yogo bhavati dukkha. His sufferings will be mitigated. A simple formula Krishna is giving here in Bhagavad Gita. Sixth chapter is called as Dhyana Yoga, where Krishna is teaching the process of dhyana or meditation. And before teaching meditation, he is giving the prerequisites. He is giving the prerequisites. Like before doing any yoga process, you have do's and don'ts. Generally, we should not do yoga full stomach, isn't it? When you want to do exercise, we should do it empty stomach. Because if you do full stomach, then the food is already heavy in the stomach, so you cannot do bending exercises, and it may cause pain in the stomach also. So yoga is to be done empty stomach. Similarly, before telling about process of yoga, Krishna is telling what you should do. Yukta ahara. You should eat moderately. Krishna is telling. If you eat too much, then you will feel sleepy. If you eat too less, then we will feel weak. So one should be regulated in one's eating. So let's see what Krishna tells about eating. So there are three major components to stay healthy for a physical quotient: diet, exercise, and relaxation. Let's see about diet. See, eating should be regulated. One should eat sattvic food, milk products, natural grains, seasonal fruits, sprouts, especially moong, right? And no junk food, right? What is junk food? What all the items which fall in junk food category? Can anybody say? What is called as junk food?
Bread, pizza, pasta.
Pizza, pasta, or on the roadside you'll find some pani puri, bhel puri. They are called as fast food, and they are also called as junk food.
Burger.
Burger. Yes, burgers, and so many things are there. So fast food is fast to cook, fast to serve, fast to eat, but slow to digest. That's the problem and difficult to come out. Generally, because fast food is
Noodles
made
also,
out of,
Prabhuji.
yeah,
Noodles.
noodles, correct?
Noodles.
Noodles. So they are very fast to cook and easy to eat, but difficult to digest. And that's called as fast food. Why? Because they are mostly made of maida, and maida is a food which sticks to the intestines and stomach. It doesn't flow very smoothly in the system. So generally, those who eat fast food, they may have the problem of constipation. So Krishna is here advising that one should eat sattvic food. What is sattvic food? Hare Krishna. Yeah. So one should eat sattvic food. So sattvic food is here: milk, milk products, and especially milk which is from natural sources. Natural sources directly from the cow. Otherwise, nowadays in cities we get packet milk. Is unavoidable because we don't get proper milk, direct milk. And what is packet milk? It is pasteurized, homogenized, and double toned milk. Means there's nothing in it. All the fat is removed, all the nutrients are removed, and just white color liquid is coming. So that is also not very healthy. But if one can get A2 milk, do you know the difference between A1 milk and A2 milk? Does anybody know?
Protein, Prabhuji.
Protein, no. What is the difference between A1 and A2? Which is better?
A2.
A2. Why?
Gir Gai. A2 milk is.
A2 milk is Gir Gai. Okay, correct. That's correct. So not only Gir Gai, any Indian variety of milk, Indian cow's milk, that's called as A2 milk. And A1 milk is the milk coming from Western, what do you call, interbreeds,
Jersey and Holstein.
Jersey cows, Jersey, Holstein, such kind of cows which are giving milk. They are A1 milk. So it is said that A1 milk is not fit for consumption because it causes long-term diseases. And A2 milk is more healthier because the Indian cows are the actual cows. And there is a research done. I have a book and also many videos on that. That how Indian cows' milk is very healthy. And by drinking this milk, one gets a balanced diet. Body becomes well nourished. So, if possible, one can try to take A2 milk. And there are some people who are supplying in Bangalore also, but it's a little costly, costlier than the A1 milk because supply is limited. So from milk, you can make many other products. Can you tell, say, some of the items which we can make from milk? Some delicious items.
Kheer, Basundi.
Okay, kheer,
Rasgulla,
rasgulla, correct. Can others also tell something?
Paneer.
Khoa, paneer.
Khoa, okay, paneer, khoa.
Halwa.
Halwa, okay, Sitaram Singh, we can make carrot halwa. Okay, any other item? Peda, rabdi, Gunjan is telling. Right. We can make sandesh, right? So many items can be made. We can make ghee also, curd also, and from curd we can make what is called Shrikhand. Shrikhand bana sakte hain, chhas bana sakte hain, right? Butter we can make. So many things come from milk. So milk is a very nectarian product. Milk is very, very nectarian product from which so many items can be made. So in Krishna Lila, you will hear that Krishna was playing with butter. Krishna had so much butter with him that he will play with butter with his friends. Nowadays, if I give him butter, we'll calculate, oh, it's 200 rupees for 200 gram. So costly it is, right? But Krishna used to play with butter. Can you imagine what kind of opulence Krishna had? Do you know how many number of cows Krishna had? Any guesses? In Vrindavan, Nanda Maharaj had cows. How many cows he had?
In lakhs, some lakhs. I don't know.
Lakhs, yeah. Can you guess how many number of lakhs?
10 lakh or something.
10 lakhs, very close. Actually, 9 lakhs. 9 lakh cows Krishna had. And if you have 9 lakh cows, can you imagine the volume of butter and ghee which comes out? So that was the opulence, real opulence. Actually, real wealth. So who is wealthy? Person who has land and who has cows. He is wealthy. These two are real wealth because all other things are fleeting. And building will collapse, but land will remain, right? And paper currency may lose its value, isn't it? But gold will never lose its value. Land will never lose its value. Land is always there with you. So that's why these are two properties which are valuable, and we can try to invest in these two properties, which is land and cows. So natural grains. So what is the difference between natural grains and unnatural grains? So natural grains means that which is not modified genetically, that is natural. Unnatural grains means that which is genetically modified. Like now they are modifying cotton, that's for genetically modified cotton. And the farmers who use this GM cotton in their land, one crop came nice, after that land became spoiled. Nothing will grow on that, right? So first crop will be very big, right? A lot of harvest will come, but eventually the capacity of the soil reduces. And even chemical farming also, they are growing by chemical farming by putting urea and putting pesticides on top. That is also very harmful. Natural means that which is grown with cow dung and natural compost. That kind of food is very healthy, right? Artificial foods, genetically modified foods may look shining and better, but actually they have no sattva. But those which are grown naturally, they may look very simple, but they'll give a lot of energy, prana shakti to all of us. In fact, nowadays there is a wave of millets which is coming. People also want to take millets like ragi, bajra, jawar, and kodo and arka and all those millet varieties, navane. So those can be also good alternatives for good health. And seasonal fruits. Seasonal fruits means the fruits which grow in the particular season. Like this is a season for like watermelon and mangoes, right? And grapes also come in this season. After some time, some other fruits will come like sitapul, and then some other fruits, anjeer and other things will keep coming. So at a particular season, when you take that particular fruit, that is healthier. But if you take mango in December or November, that is not healthy, right? Because you have to take seasonal fruits. Of course, there are some mangoes which are coming around the year, so some are available like that. And bananas are generally available all the year, so one can take seasonal fruits. And sprouts, especially moong. Moong is rich in protein. Moong is good protein. So proteins are available in moong dal, so you don't have to go to non-vegetarian items, right? Moong dal protein is sufficient, especially if you take sprouted moong dal. And vitamins are available in vegetables as well as milk. All the vitamins are available, right? And calcium, iron, they are available in ragi, and carbohydrates are available in rice and wheat. So by taking these items, one can have a balanced diet. Okay. Right. So after taking the sattvic foods, one should not overeat also. We should fill 50% of the stomach with food, and 25% we should leave for water and 25% for air. This is the right calculation. Stomach is like a mixer grinder. In a mixer grinder, have you ever filled full and started the mixer grinder? That will be very dangerous, because if you fill the mixer grinder to the full, it will not rotate only. So generally they put half the item, and then half they put water, and they 25% they put water and 25% air gap, so that it can grind properly. Then the stomach also is like mixer. Whatever you put inside, it goes and mixes. So one should leave sufficient space for the stomach to do its digestive activities. If you fill till here, then stomach will cry, then it will have stomach pain eventually. So this is a healthy way. One way of finding out how to eat optimum is, if your health is good, then when you keep eating, at a particular time the burp comes. So that means the stomach is telling now it's sufficient. Because when you put food inside, the air is there inside which comes out. So that means the stomach is full. So then one can stop eating at that meal. Another symptom is, symptom of overeating is after eating one will feel sleepy or drowsy. That is symptom that he has overeaten. Symptom of optimal eating is after eating he'll feel energetic. He'll not feel tired or lazy. He'll feel energetic and he wants to continue doing his work. So that is a symptom of healthy eating. Yeah, so these are the food items in mode of Sattva-guna. I'm not sure whether you'll be able to follow the Sanskrit written here, but I'll read it for you. Ayo Sattva Balarogya Sukha Priti Vivardhana Rasyah Snigdha Stira Hridya Ahara Satvika Priya. So this is the food in mode of Sattva Guna. Can somebody read this translation which is written here? And would like to read? Yeah, I see Sitaram's name first here. Sitaram, can you like to read? Would you like to read? Yeah. You can unmute and read this statement. Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Foods diet to those in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life, purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart.
Yeah. So this is the thing. So Sattva food are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing food. Rasya, snigdha, sira, hrida. Juicy means juicy like fruits. Fatty means ghee, pure ghee. Some people have misconception that by eating ghee one will go fat. No, by eating pure ghee made from A2 milk and with the proper procedure. One way of getting ghee is from directly in milk. They'll put some chemicals and then take out fat and then they boil it and then they make ghee. That is not healthy ghee. From the milk you make yogurt, curd, and from curd you make churn it and bring out butter, and that butter you heat it, then you get ghee. That is healthy ghee. That is the proper way of making ghee. But most of the commercial ventures, commercial ghee producing companies, they use shortcut. Directly from milk they extract fat and then they make it into ghee. That is not good. So real ghee is available about 1,600 to 2,000 rupees per kg. That's the real cost of the original ghee. And it should be wholesome, means grains, proper grains should be there, and pleasing to the heart. Man khush ho jana chahiye. Heart should be happy when eating that food. So that is Sattva-guna. And by eating this Sattva-guna food, one's duration of life will increase, Ayu, and one's existence becomes purified. One will get strength. See, even elephant is vegetarian but has great strength, isn't it? So Bala, Arogya, Roga means disease, Arogya means no disease, happiness and satisfaction. These are the symptoms of eating sattvic food. What happens by eating rajasic food? Katuamla lavanati ushna tikshna ruksha vidahina ahara rajasa seshta dukkha shokamaya prada. This is from 17th chapter of Gita, shloka number 9. Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, hot, pungent, and dry, and burning are dear to those in the mode of passion. Too bitter, right? And too sour and too salty. These are the symptoms. Too hot, like while eating one has to blow. So that is hot. One should not eat too much. Pungent means too much chili. The chili will burn on the tongue, it will burn inside the chest, and it will burn below also. So it burns the whole system. So too much chili. Too much dry. Dry items like eating bread, where you have to, mouth feels dry and you need to take a lot of water. So, and burning. These are the food in the mode of passion, especially on the roadside, whatever they sell, generally they are in this category. So they will cause distress, misery, and disease. Dukkha, shoka, amaya prada. Why did he eat? So he'll do shoka. And while eating, there is dukkha. And after that, there are diseases. He has to pay to the doctor. Right? So one should avoid rajasic food. Then tamasic food. Shloka number 10 from 17th chapter. Yatayamam gatarasam puti paryushitam chayat uchishtam apicha medhyam bhojanam tamasapriyam. Food prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten. Okay, yama means 3 hours. So if food is cooked in the morning, then eating it in the afternoon or in the evening, that's called as stale food. right? So it is said that one should try to eat the food fresh. If you cook it now, then within 3 hours you can eat, like that. Of course, it may not be practical sometimes because you have to pack your lunch box and go. So one can try to cook fresh at least. At least we should not eat yesterday's food. We should try to cook food freshly today, right? And sometimes one may think, okay, there is no time to cook in home. Let's go to hotel and take from hotel and go. But what is the guarantee hotel people are making fresh? Sometimes they keep yesterday's idli and reheat it and give it, right? So people health gets spoiled. So one should try to better eat only home cooked food as much as possible to have better health. So food that is tasteless, decomposed and putrid. So sometimes decomposed, fungus is coming, or some air bubbles, methane gases are coming. So such food also should not be eaten. And food consisting of remnants, eating from others' plate, right? Or sometimes within husband and wife that's okay, but eating from unknown strange persons, remnants and all, that's dangerous. And untouchable things is dear to those in the mode of darkness. Okay, untouchable things means non-vegetarian food. Right? Why non-vegetarian food? Because it's dead body. Generally, we don't touch dead body. When you touch dead body, then we take bath, isn't it? If some dog is lying dead on the roadside, then we don't touch it. If you're going in vehicle, we take like this detour and go, isn't it? It's badly smelling. But the same thing when the hotel people they cook it, cut it, and cook it, and bring it on the plate, people eat it, and they're putting inside their stomach. What kind of nonsense is this, isn't it? So one should try to see the connection that that dead animal we don't touch, but same thing one is eating on the plate. So one should have some compassion and sense of eating also. Yeah? So that is tamasic food, food in the mode of darkness. Right? So that's about food and exercise. Exercise removes toxins due to adrenaline. Generally, toxic chemicals are created in the body. By doing exercise, sweat comes out. So that sweat removes the toxins from the body. Keeps you fresh, fit, and healthy. Gives positive signals to the mind, especially when you breathe during exercise. The fresh air goes inside, especially during yoga, during Surya Namaskar. I personally do about 15-20 minutes every day. Surya Namaskar, which to the lungs and to the mind. Increases emotional strength, increases threshold levels of survival instinct. Right? That's about exercise. One can keep at least 20 minutes every day. If not, alternate days, you can keep some exercise. And sleeping. Generally, 6 to 7 hours sleep is good enough. And what time to sleep? That's also important. Right? One should generally sleep between 9 a.m. To 6 a.m. Between that time. That calculation is also given that if you sleep between 9 p.m. to 12 p.m., 12 a.m. at midnight, that 3 hours of sleep is equal to 6 hours of rest. And between 12 midnight to 3 a.m., that 3 hours of sleep is equal to 3 hours of rest. And after 3 o'clock, 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., it's equal to only 1.5 hours of rest. And after 6 a.m., it doesn't rest the body. Okay. So that's why early to bed, early to rise makes one healthy, wealthy, and wise. So I have a document I can share with you of a research done by a doctor where he says that at what time in the night, which body part gets detoxified. Generally, sleep is required because the body needs rest to detoxify itself and recuperate itself. Body is also a machine, so machine needs some rest. So liver gets cleansed at a particular time, the brain gets cleansed at a particular time, the lungs get cleansed at a particular time, and the bowels get cleansed early in the morning around 4-5 o'clock. So at a particular time, if you sleep, then the whole body gets rested. So if one sleeps at night, early morning 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and gets up at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, so he is losing valuable amount of rest. And the body goes into stress because it is not getting proper rest. Our body follows the sun cycle. When the sun rises, we should rise. When the sun sets, we should also set our activities. right? So generally by 9 or maximum 10 o'clock, one should go to bed to have a healthy lifestyle. And one should get up by 3 or 4, like that. So if not, at least by 5 o'clock, one should be up and he should be doing his activities. Right? I personally try to sleep by 9:30 and get up by 3:30, maximum 4 o'clock. So this is the schedule I follow, and I have been doing this since last maybe 15 years, and that has given very good results and very happy, healthy lifestyle. And over a period of time, it becomes very natural. One sleeps early and one gets up early. It is said that even big businessmen who want to do planning for their business, they get up early in the morning because nobody can disturb them. Even sportsmen, they get up early in the morning and do their exercises because we get fresh air. Even film stars also do their workouts early in the morning, right? Because they want to succeed. So morning time is the secret of success. Anybody you want, anybody you take who is successful, he'll get up early in the morning. That is the secret of success. Especially between 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. That is the time when people do their planning for the future. So that time is called Brahma Muhurta, between 4 o'clock to 4:30 to 6 o'clock. 1.5 hours before sunrise. That's called Brahma Muhurta. So before Brahma Muhurta, one should be awake. So that's what the Shastras say. So in one more session, I will take an entire topic of what is Brahma Muhurta and why it is important. That I will discuss separately. So this is about sleep. So of course, some may be sleeping late now, like 1 o'clock or something like that. So what we should do, we should not suddenly change our timing. If one is sleeping at 1 o'clock and getting up at 7 o'clock, then one can shift. I will try to sleep by 12 o'clock for 1 week. So and get up at 6 o'clock. That shift he can make. And then he can make after 1 week 11 o'clock, then maybe 10:30, and then 10 o'clock. So within a month's time or 1.5 months time, he can slowly, gradually shift his sleeping cycle, because there is something called as body clock. Whatever pattern we follow, the body clock gets adjusted to that. So you have to slowly reset the bodily clock, and then the clock will come to the standard uh, uh, timings, and then it will get adjusted. It's a matter of cultivating habit. Okay. Is it clear? Any questions on this till now? I hope it is making sense. Yeah. So I'll just give me 2 more minutes and I'll complete this presentation. Then we can have some question answers. So again, coming back to the original slide, right? Physical activities 8 to 9 hours, mental and intellectual 8 to 10 hours. Like till now we discussed about physical. Mental and intellectual, it's already being taken care by your company or college, and they decide what you have to do, isn't it? So in that time, in the office time, try to do your office work in office. Don't try to bring it to the home. Otherwise, what will happen? Your emotional side will get disrupted because you're bringing office anxiety to home, right? So try to do your office work at office, and in home, try to spend with your friends and family and time like that. Otherwise, what will happen? Intermixing will happen, and you'll start shouting at family members unnecessarily. Or don't try to bring emotional or social problems into the office. Otherwise, that will disturb your work life. So one should develop the strength to compartmentalize one's mind in order to deal with different people in a particular way. So that comes by spiritual strength, right? That's good sadhana. If you every day morning, before beginning your day, you chant Hare Krishna mantra, at least 1 round you start chanting, right? I personally chant about 2 hours every day, 16 rounds. So you can start with 1 round and try to focus your attention on chanting and hear the mantra. You will see great transformation. You will get a lot of mental strength to deal with your office work as well as your relationships. But slowly, because the heart is getting purified, you are able to access Krishna's grace. So you'll be able to balance all the other aspects. So among all these 4 aspects, spiritual quotient is like the compass. Spiritual quotient is like the compass. The compass always points towards the north. Similarly, spiritual quotient gives us direction, which is go towards God. So spiritual quotient, SQ, is the first thing we should do in the morning. After you take bath and get ready, spend some time chanting, spend some time reading Bhagavad Gita, at least 1 verse in the morning. So in that way, our orientation gets fixed. And then all other things should support this spiritual path, right? So that is the right way of living our life. Sometimes people live their life without any compass. They don't know which direction they are going in. So that should not happen. One person was driving very fast, and he was just looking at the speedometer and going fast. And after a long time, he realized, hey, I should have taken a left and long back. He had to again come back. Similarly, we are also sometimes caught up in a rat race. We keep doing things mechanically, fast, repeatedly, again and again, like a zombie, and you forget what is the goal of life. That should not happen. So first thing we should do is set the spiritual orientation in the morning, and then try to fit other things in our schedule. So that's the chanting is very important. Chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Right? And by chanting, what happens? There are 4 kinds of thoughts in the mind: positive, negative, necessary, and waste. Positive thoughts are joy, love, hope, mercy, peace, honesty, harmony, tolerance, enthusiasm, understanding. Negative thoughts like anger, stress, egoism, racism, laziness, revenge, carelessness, criticism, jealousy, attachment. These are all negative thoughts. And some necessary, like taking bath in the morning, brushing our teeth, our work life, career, routine activities of the day, profession, they're all necessary thoughts. They're not spiritual, but they're necessary. And waste thoughts, like thinking about past and future. So out of these 4, which ones can be eliminated? Out of these 4, which category of thoughts can be eliminated? Can you just point out? Okay, waste thoughts should be eliminated, correct?
Yes. Negative.
Negative thoughts also, like waste and negative thoughts. So both can be eliminated. So if our mind is like a processor, and if all these 4 thoughts are running in the mind, if you remove negative and waste thoughts, 50% of the efficiency is improved. Sometimes we waste our day daydreaming. Oh, I'll do like that, I will do like this. And sometimes we waste our time being angry on somebody, and that reduces our productivity, isn't it? So we can remove these 2 thoughts by chanting Hare Krishna and keep only positive and necessary thoughts. That will increase our efficiency, right? So this is the power of thoughts. So garbage in, garbage out. So you put garbage inside, only garbage will come out. So we should put positivity in, only positive thoughts and spiritual thoughts, then spirituality will come out. Hare Krishna. I think I just got disconnected. So, so the question was about night shift. Are you able to hear me now? Yeah. So the question was about night shift. If night shift is there, if it's occasional, that's okay. But if it is a routine one, again and again it is happening, or if it's a regular thing, then that is not good, because the body can, especially in young age, it can go on. Right? One may not feel any problems. But when you cross 35, 40, so at that time it will start showing some symptoms because of the stress which is created now. At that age, after you cross 40, the body will start showing symptoms of stress and some diseases in the body. So it's better if you can look for alternative jobs and try to quickly shift to a better, healthier, better job which will give time for healthy lifestyle. So that is the solution for that, right? And another question was asked by Prashant or Arshav. Arshav has asked the question. I think in the hostel it is difficult to get up at 4 o'clock. The chat is missing here. So he was telling that it's difficult to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So because the hostel also go late night, isn't it? So in the hostel, in the colleges, I have seen and heard also that they get up at, they sleep at 3 o'clock, isn't it, Arsham?
No, Prabhuji. My question is,
Hmm.
actually, I used to wake up at 4 o'clock in hostel, but I'm not
Okay.
able to continue this in home, even if I sleep
Oh.
on time. That's my question. So why is
Okay,
it
okay.
so?
Okay, thank you for clarifying, because the chat box went missing because
Yes,
I reconnected. So in home, if it is possible, then you can sleep early, right? Because we can get up early only when we sleep early. Right? If you're sleeping by 10 o'clock, then it's possible to get up at 4 o'clock. But if you're sleeping at 12 o'clock, it's not possible to get up at 4 o'clock, isn't it? So first thing is to get to the bed early, hit the bed early. If you want to sleep at 10, then you should start preparing to sleep, winding up your activities by 9:30. And when you wind up your activities by 9:30, at least by 9:45, you go into the bed and 10 o'clock you sleep, isn't it? So like that, we should plan our night. But if you're sleeping at 10 and still getting up late, so then we have to see that what is the problem. Is it because of dreams, or is it because of some health reason one is not able to get up? So it sometimes because of health also it may be possible. So one may have to again take some treatment, and then again one will be able to get up early in the morning. Right? It all case specific. What time you sleep in the night?
Prabhuji, in home, I used to sleep at 11 o'clock nowadays. But generally in my home, everybody sleep at 9:30 to 10. Like I got this
That's good
habit from
actually.
home. Yes, Prabhu.
So that's good. You can sleep with them. Generally, what happens in the night time, we waste our time in mobile sometimes, right? Seeing or answering chats or watching things. So better you can keep it. Important things are there, then you can do it and then sleep quite early. So you should finish, like now the class gets over. Our class gets over at 8 o'clock. Then take your dinner. Then by 9:30 prepare yourself to go to bed, and by 10 go to bed. And what your emails or other things to be answered, you can do it tomorrow, isn't it? So nothing is very urgent. Things can wait. Okay, so you have to prioritize. Even I also make a priority that by 9:30 I should go to the bed, and I try to wind up all the things by 9:30. According to my experience, it depends on our diet. Yeah, correct. Gunjan is telling. In the night also, if you eat too heavy, then that is also not good. One will sleep a lot, because it is said that before you sleep, the food should be digested. Like I generally eat by before 6. In the night, I try to avoid. Even traditionally, sadhus also will eat before sunset only. So that is also a good lifestyle. So you can try to eat early before 6. It may not be possible at home, but you can take light dinner. Breakfast and lunch can be heavy, not a problem, but dinner should be light. If dinner is heavy, then it will affect our sleep, because the energy of the body is going to the stomach to digest the food. So then the body will feel tired because body is working. Like when you put a machine to rest, machine should be switched off, then it rests. Similarly, body also should be switched off when you're resting. But if food is there in the stomach, then body is working, so it will not get rest. So then one will need long hours of rest. Instead of 6, one may have to sleep for 8 hours to feel that rest, isn't it? So food also is an important criteria. Thank you, Gunjan, for adding that point. Okay, so I hope this session gave you some idea about lifestyle. So I'll share this PPT with you, so it can be with you, and you can keep referring to it, and make your lifestyle changes slowly. And we are here to help you whenever required. Okay. Hare Krishna. So thank you so much, and tomorrow we'll meet again for the session on shloka recitation. It will be very exciting. We will surely try to memorize 2 shlokas at least tomorrow in the session. Okay, not of the session, in the session. Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you. See
Hare
you
Krishna
tomorrow.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hari Bol.